they will not be able to deliver the reports what they're looking for. So traditionally what you see in the BI world, it has remained stuck to static reporting. Of course, now the technology has improved much more, and we're talking in terms of analytics, predictive modeling, and so on. So here is expectation that analytics is going to be the silver bullet, which is going to solve all my problem. But look at what the Gartner is saying here. By 2014, not far from now, BI initiatives will be providing the data that is out of sync from the business requirements. Why is that? I'll give you an analogy here. Let's take an example of like encyclopedia versus web. While we were kids, we were able to for the projects, we'll be able to use the encyclopedia, pore over it, get all the requirements. So traditional BI, you can actually, lot of similarity with encyclopedia. It's like predefined set of questions and answers are there, ready-made, cooked up. We can't blame it. The reason is it evolved from functional requirements from finance, CRM, which was like pretty much defined set of business rules. So it was easy. So it remains stuck there. But what we are looking is like, can IT be the enabler for the infrastructure so the business user is empowered to see what he wants to see? And more often than not, when the business user starts looking at the data, he'll be able to explore by himself and he'll be able to understand like what's the data telling to him. Okay? So we'll try to put together different ingredients of the requirements. So at a top level, we see here information management is the key. Of course, we all talked about data warehouse, data modeling, business domain knowledge, all the stuff. Business intelligence, the output of the entire process. And all, as Anindya explained, it has to tie in with the strategy management. And if you look at, these are just the bare bones. When you start filling in the gap, you see there are like many more things. Looking at there, you have advanced analytics requirements are there, predictive modeling capabilities, data mining algorithms, so many more things which you can do. So where do we start? So when we look at these things, we can broadly classify them to 3 categories. Even the business intelligence domain has evolved in the similar manner. It started with the reporting, information delivery, then they found the need for advanced analytics, and finally it was all boiling down to like how well your systems are integrated. So we could classify them into 3 broad categories. Of course, all other project management things are going along with this. Now let's take this up, open them like one by one and see like what it means to a business. So any BI initiative in a company, it needs a C-level sponsorship, the mandate and the buy-in. Many of the speakers today talked about it. But how do we get the buy-in? What is in it for the C-level executives? As Anindya explained, if we can define our organization goals and objectives and link it down the KPIs to each of my company units or the people or the processes, then I can see like how the overall objectives are getting impacted by individual KPIs. It makes sense. And for that, they need tools. They should be able to articulate like what they want in terms of strategy trees. They should be able to have inputs at their fingertips, scorecards, TQM, and so on. So a small tip for the C-level executives is like how we can cut the lot of noise to them, provide them the information which actually makes sense. If you look at the study done at Stanford, they say on an average a C-level executive is forced to take up approximately around 139 decisions per week, and almost like 50% of them has probably only like taken under less than 9 minutes, and more than 12% or around 12% of the information decisions are taken more than an hour, and everything else falls between. So information overload is also dangerous. So we should be able to make sure the information what reaches them is of the essence. It's the same 80-20 rules apply here. So the 20% of the information actually has impact on 80% of how the organization is functioning. So with this top-down approach of what strategy management requirements are, we start putting together the building blocks in terms of like bottom-up integration, analytics requirements, and the information delivery. So let's look at each of these pieces. So we have seen like, especially in this asset-centric industry, considering a lot of investments have gone into operations network. We have enterprise applications in the enterprise network, design systems, and so on. So the basic need is for the integration. So today we have best of the breed in technologies in terms of integration, talks about SOA, RESTful services, and whatnot. And at the same time, we also talk about the information which is needed real time, not like just historic. And of course, there are like proprietary systems for which you need to have standardized connectors which can talk to the system and get the data seamlessly. Migrating all the data into the warehouse is not solving the complete problem. As you've seen in some of the screens what Anindya demonstrated, he should be able to drill down to the details from the BI cockpit itself. So it also needs the ability to talk to the system directly and fetch the data in near real time. And of course, safety is another important aspect of the system as well in the organization. Even that needs to be integrated as well. Let's look at the industry trend. Like they say, like almost 40% of the spending in the business goes into system integrators, not just the software vendors. Let's look at the next piece in terms of analytics. Here is where like lot of progress has been made. We talked about the data warehousing concepts in terms of domain expertise, standardized data models, and the key for the data model is the semantic modeling. We talked about like empowering the business users. That is not possible unless the model reflects the business terminologies and the nomenclature which a business user can understand. So he'll be able to query using his own business languages, and he should be able to get the results what he is looking for. So ad hoc queries. Today it is possible to do that. Unless you have a good semantic model, it's not going to solve the problem. And we have looked at multidimensional scenario analysis, what Anindya mentioned in terms of like how I can look at different scenarios like my purchasing decisions or my even some of the companies demonstrate in terms of simulation and all the predictive modeling capabilities. So at the bottom of this, what we need is a powerful engine which can actually work at the speed of thought, and it should be able to execute the queries. So it should be able to get the data into an OLAP where it allows the user to slice and dice the data. It should allow him to, it should allow multiple drill paths. So you should be able to look at the product from all perspectives or any subject matter for that reason. Like if you look at product entity, I should be able to drill down from various aspects, whether it is in terms of sales, in terms of geography, in terms of units, in terms of other attributes, and even substitutes, compare them, and so on. So unless we have a model where these data can be sliced and diced, the information will remain hidden in the warehouse. And on top of that, advanced data mining capabilities in terms of like, let's say I have historian data from my historian system for last 10 years, and I have the information which is coming from, let's say, quality system or SAP or Oracle maintenance orders and so on. Can I overlay this data on top of each other and find out like what is the pattern? Some people talked about neural network. Can the system learn by itself to see how it can categorize these variables and see like, is there a positive correlation between the variables or not? Are they grouped together, and what is the clustered relationship between them? This is also solves the basic requirement in terms of like ability or empowering the user to derive additional value from the data. And some of our friends today talked in terms of big data. We have been hearing what is big data. Like essentially it means is like in the last few years we have seen explosion of information in the industry, both in the online, even in plants also, in terms of like the data, what we talked about, whether it could be historian data. Some people talked about like power industry, smart meters, consumer data coming in, seismic data for oil and gas upstream. And even like if you look at collaboration world, the Facebooks, Twitters, and all this social data. So within the plant itself, we have historian data, we have quality data, maintenance data, we have our enterprise content management system, we have log management systems. All this data can be mined for very valuable information. Imagine having a Google-like dashboard where I can fire a query and I can get data coming from a PNID system for a pump design documents or drawings. Along with I can also see the trends, what's happening in terms of coming from the historian system and so on. So even that is essential part of the technology infrastructure. And of course, the next big thing today, the systems have become so powerful. Here we are talking about getting like terabytes of data into the memory, and you'll be able to analyze that. So it's not just the warehouse, even the system can connect to the sources in real time and fetch the data. You could do like a change detection as and when the data is changing. You could listen for the events. You could have like complex event processing system built into the system. So it looks at different patterns in the events. It can see like an alarm went off in the plant and certain sensor values changed. It can see the trend and it can actually suppress the noise, and based on depending upon what is the business rule you classify, it can actually escalate the information so that appropriate action can be taken at the right time. And all this is possible using today's infrastructure, which is available in terms of technology. So it's just a matter of like, are we making the right investment? Do we have the things or architecture and infrastructure planned out in the right way? That becomes the key. So once again, you look at here, like it's a predictive and forecasting capabilities is going to be the key going forward. In-memory functions add scale and computational speed to the infrastructure. Let's look at the information delivery. This is the most important part. Like here is where like you're looking at the visualization. How easy you can make for the user to understand the data. That's the key. You should be able to explore the data. Imagine like what's happening, like if you look at our ERP systems, it has been there over like a couple of decades, and now the way the business functions has changed drastically, right? ERP systems has become more of transactional, capturing your every transaction in the organization, whereas you collaborate outside the ERP systems. Actual decisions are taken outside the system. We are looking at a world where everything is coming together and a participative decision making, where all this information should be cohesively working together. That's the key. So imagine a Facebook for enterprise, where I can actually get the dashboards and I can actually comment on that, and I can invite experts in my organization and ask them to analyze and provide the feedback, all in the context of the discussion thread or a chat or a complete kind of a workflow where users can add their value. Maybe they are geographically sitting somewhere else, but all this information can be shared in real time, and it is also part of the decision making process. Even the information which is actually getting recorded is available for the subsequent analysis. Whenever you get into a similar kind of situation, you can see that, yes, this is a similar case which has happened some time back, and now I have seen like what kind of decisions I've taken, and I can refer to it. But if this information is outside in your email chain, that is not actually adding value. It has to be a part of your infrastructure and has to be working together. And of course, mobility, we talked enough about it in the morning, so I can skip that. It should be accessible wherever you are. And some of the applications, they impose restrictions saying that you can use only like, let's say, Microsoft interface, or you can use only a desktop application. Why that restriction should be there? User should be able to choose how he wants to interact with the data, how he wants to converse with the data. Whether power users are there, they would want to get the data into an Excel, they would want to model it, they want to update, they want to feed it back and see what's the impact of the change. Whereas like other users, they want to consume it over mobile devices, it could be browser, it could be anything. Like there should not be any restriction in terms of the way information is disseminated and how it is consumed. So even this aspect has to be factored in when you're actually building the infrastructure. And of course, disconnected, offline, and various other aspects. Now, are we done yet? No. If you just leave at this pace, what happens is, you've looked at everything, you know what's happening, you know what is going to happen, everything, but you're not able to take the decision. The last missing piece or the last mile connectivity is to have the ability for the user to take action from the cockpit right then and there. I should be able to trigger a workflow, I should be able to like update the source system from there, I should have an access to invoke services of my choice, and it should be able to feed the information back into my source system. And imagine doing that while you are mobile, on your iPad, and you see like the inventory levels have gone down, and you can just on a click of button, you can actually initiate a transfer right wherever you are from. So that's the real power of analytics, what's happening today and the future is heading. So once again, you see like they say collaborative or participative decision making is going to be the norm, and most of the information is going to be consumed by handheld devices going forward. So we have seen the various ingredients, like putting all together, you have the blueprint now. So you have the basic integration layer, the aspects, the different types of connectors, real time, standardized connectors, your ETL layers and so on, your analytics layer where you have multi-dimension models, you have semantic models where user can converse with the database, unstructured data, ability to have the complete information in memory and ability to get the data in real time, and of course different types of delivery channels. So this kind of constitutes your basic blueprint for infrastructure, which will help you to meet the requirements what Anindya laid out earlier. So this is a little bit more detailed level of what Rolta OneView can offer in terms of infrastructure and how it fits in each of these spaces together. We are out there in the stall, so please feel free to meet. We can have a demo, we can discuss your requirements, and we'll be glad if we can help. I'll just leave with this last slide, the basic evaluation pointers. Like, guys, if you look at what's happening today, packaged ERP application was like probably a couple of decades back it started, and people said, no, it is not going to work. I started with having my own functional financial system, it's not going to scale, but you see the people started adopting that, and now if you see, it's the world for packaged analytics. So if you can get the information of, or if you can get the infrastructure or tomorrow's technology now, why wait? So you just weigh the pros and cons and see like how it can help you to graduate to the next level right now. And that's the call. The basic pointers you need to be aware of is in terms of like ease of use, whether it is built on industry standard platforms or it's a proprietary stack. Today, if you look at in this space, in this quadrant, the leading players are like, let's say, SAP, Microsoft, Oracle, IBM, and so on. So the investment is happening, the company's brand name is there. So can you get the technology stack which is the industry is adopting or moving towards to? That's an important decision. And is it an open platform? Can I go and enhance it? Can I go and scale, like customize it? Will it break through upgrades? These are the decisions you need to see. And in terms of like whether it is standards compliant, they talk about in the industry different standards, whether it is for assets like PAS or it's ISA 95 or Mimosa, different standards are there. See whether it is adhering to that. And in the organization, do I have the skill to actually maintain it going forward? Can my business users use it with little training or of no training at all? These are things you need to consider for evaluating such a system. So I'll just invite Anindya back to just wrap up the presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, so coming to the value prop. When we see major corporations, when they have multiple kind of verticals like either in refineries, petrochemicals, oil and gas, or chemicals, powers, utilities in a mix, then the enterprise should provide a comprehensive view across all these across all these verticals to provide that how all these verticals together are performing. There can be some performance indicators which will be very specific to a particular type of industry, but there are some which can give a overall organization level performance. So it collates all those across the multiple geographies. This is a high-level integrated scenario. You can see what we discussed, that you have multiple applications, systems, data in structured, unstructured, in Excel, Word, whatever format. It comes in into a data warehouse where the goals, targets, actions, and accountabilities also are fed in. And this is a platform where the business users are using, and they are getting completely agnostic. It's not. Yeah, where it is completely agnostic to where from this information is coming. I just want to bring an analogy here. See, we have two eyes. we see two images, but we have somebody who is actually merging two images into one image. Think of, we have two images actually seen, then I think we cannot proceed a single step. And frankly speaking, based on my experience, when we have been in the industry, we have seen that when we take a decision, we really have multiple image. And when we try to sit together to take a decision, first we try to merge those images, and which do not merge each other, and then we come out indecisive. I don't know whether it is the same experience with you all. Coming to the benefit side, yeah, we have three major areas that from an operational perspective, we have the benefits, which is excellence in performance, shape the best people, and instill the best practice. So how we can bring a comprehensive infrastructure along with a culture to work for the vision and the values that we propagate across the organization. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anindya and Rupesh Nair.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.